Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boardman Black and Gold podcast with Zane and David. And we've got week one on tap for you in just a couple of days. We're excited. It's Steelers, it's Jets, it's at MetLife Stadium. And we finally get to talk about an actual football game instead of some theoretical, into the wind, off-season news. I'm excited, David. This is getting to the point where that itch is starting to get a little scratchier, you know?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Like it's almost surreal that it's in like what 4 or 5 days or something. Like it's so exciting, and we got I feel like a little warm up because of college football, just being able to like feel like okay, that's back, and tomorrow is the NFL opener, so that'll kind of warm us up even more. So yeah, I'm just beyond excited to like watch new Steelers football. Like it's just gonna be no matter what happens. We'll see. It'll just be like refreshing to just be able to sit down and watch, a Steelers game with all the hope in the world.
Exactly. And before we get to talking about the Steelers, your Ohio State, you want to talk about that for 2 seconds?
Oh, I mean, I'd love to. Yeah, I went into the game. I thought we could win. I feel like, obviously everyone was hyping up Arch Manning, and I thought Arch Manning was going to be good. Like, I didn't doubt that he was going to be a good quarterback, but I thought that everybody was underrating Julian Sam. Like, I had a lot of hope in him. And, like, obviously he didn't play amazing, but he played good enough. And, I mean, we made Arch Manning not really look that good at all. So it was a grudge match, and I think the score doesn't reflect the dominance that we had over them kind of the whole game. So, yeah, I am very hopeful for this Ohio State Buckeyes season after what we did to Texas.
That was a pretty crazy way to start the year. I mean, week one in the college football realm, you got number one versus number three. And I feel like for Ohio State specifically, that really sets you guys up for the rest of the year. It's almost like, there's your out of conference win, let's
Right.
just go from there, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what's nice is like now we're number one. If we can just keep winning, we'll stay number one, and then we'll have a nice shot. And like I think that something that was nice to see was there's a lot of new pieces, specifically. Well, not specifically. There's new pieces like across the board on this team, and like there wasn't a part of this team that really looked that weak. Our run game maybe wasn't like the best, but Texas has a great defense. Um, so yeah, I think that we have just a good shot to win again, hopefully. But I think yeah, because a lot of times the reason why I like the NFL more than college is like the first 4 to 5 weeks of college football, it's like, all right, like playing a bunch of D2 schools or like a MAC school. This game really doesn't matter. So it's nice to home opener week one, we're playing like the number one team. So that was really cool to see. And hopefully we can just keep being dominant throughout the season.
Well, the thing about the NFL is you don't get that tune-up, and, Mike Tomlin's got to have his boys ready week one because you're not going to be playing Mercer. You're not going to be playing Kent State or something like that. You got to play the Jets, for better, for worse. And this is interesting because overall, over the course of time, the Steelers are 19-7 against the Jets, including some playoff wins in there as well. One specifically, I think, what year was that? Was that the '09 Super Bowl that they beat the Jets in the AFC Championship game?
2010. We
Okay. Yeah.
Ben actually has beaten them twice in the playoffs. They beat him that year in the championship, and then they beat him Ben's rookie year in the divisional in overtime.
There you go. So a little bit of ownership over the Jets over the course of time. And these are two very different looking teams from last year. The Jets were not great, and ironically, they've got Justin Fields now. And we've talked about this slightly, back in our schedule release episode. I think both of us, the first time we recorded it, were a little bit weary on this game, not so sure what would happen. But it's interesting because, like you mentioned just a minute ago, the Steelers are going to look like totally different on offense, especially. Aaron Rodgers is a very different proponent than Justin Fields, than Russell Wilson. And, as far as the offense goes, it looks a bit different too. I think the offensive line, interestingly enough, is one of my strong suits coming into this first game because I'm looking at it. Broderick Jones is back at left tackle. Isaac Samalu's back at left guard. Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, and we're going to get the debut of Troy Fatanu. That looks to be a pretty darn good offensive line. Maybe I'm overhyping it just a little bit, but I think from there is where everything else stems. And if you can win the offensive line, especially with Aaron Rodgers, who's not going to be mobile, I like the idea of that. And then again, we got Jaylen Warren, who's got his new contract, that 3-year extension that he signed just a couple of days ago. And, we'll see what happens. But I'm big on the offensive line coming into this one. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't thought too much about the offensive line. I think that I'd agree. Overall, I think it's solid. I think that the biggest question mark is Mason McCormick, just because like I don't really know how much faith I haven't him yet. But other than that, I'm very hopeful for Broderick Jones to kind of recover from last year being at the position that, he prefers and is just better at. So besides Mason McCormick, I'm excited to see Troy Fatanu play for the first time. I like Samalu. Zach Frazier, I think, is going to be like a Pro Bowler in the next couple years or so. Maybe this year. But yeah, I'm excited for this O line. I'm excited that Jaylen Warren got extended. I think that, it's not like we're dishing him out a ton of money. And I think that he's been great quality over the past couple of years. So that was nice to kind of get him that and secure him. And I think I'm excited too for Kaleb Johnson. I think that hopefully him and Jalen split touches. And I'm excited to see what the backfield can do.
So I don't know if you saw this, but Kaleb Johnson has been named the RB3 on the depth chart, which, your face right there. Let's talk about this because you did not know that.
I did not. So Kenneth Gainwell's too?
That's what it is. Yep.
Oh goodness. What did he not do? I mean, I don't know. What did Kenneth Gainwell do better than Kaleb Johnson in the preseason that he's number 2?
That's a question for you. I mean, I don't really know. I'll be honest, because I was completely thinking that Kaleb Johnson was going to be the backup, that it was going to be another tandem with Jaylen Warren. Instead of Najee and Warren, it's Warren and Johnson. But it doesn't seem like that's what they're going with.
Well, yeah, I mean that kind of that throws a curveball because I was not expecting that at all. I think that from what I saw in the preseason, nobody really like exploded. So I was just assuming like, oh, it's your rookie guy, like give him the number 2 steps. Like he looks decent, didn't make any mistakes in the run game. So yeah, that kind of is disappointing. I would like to see him in the number 2 spot, but I also don't, Kenneth Gainwell was on some real good Eagles teams, so I know that he can play football, but I would prefer Kaleb Johnson in that number 2 spot.
Well, is this rookie treatment that Mike Tomlin just seems to be giving his guys? Is that kind of what we're chalking this up to? Because that's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
I think so, and I think that it's just so unfortunate. That we're stuck in that. Like, sure, 20 years ago, or even maybe sooner, like that was the, kind of the code. It was like you give your rookies some time, and it's like now it's different. Like, no, your rookies should be ready to go. Like there shouldn't be this gap year, and I think Mike Tomlin still kind of lives in the world of gap years. And I understand it with quarterbacks, but I feel like he treats every rookie like a quarterback, and you don't need to do that. Not every position's as hard as quarterback. And so yeah, I think that that's precisely what it is. He just, for some reason, even like. Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on the list of rookies that just get buried. So yeah, I think that's what's happening, and it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, and that kind of soured my mood a couple of days ago when I heard about that. I'm looking at ESPN right now. They still have him listed as the RB2, but I believe the official Steelers depth chart has him as the RB3. And I mean, that's got some fantasy implications too. I was pretty high on him. I drafted him in one of my leagues, kind of expecting him to be a flex option, but I'm a little taken aback by that. So we'll see if that changes, and I'm sure it will change because you drafted him with your third pick this last year. You figure that he's probably going to be a big part of the offense eventually. But like you said too, I mean, Kenneth Gainwell's been on some successful Eagles teams, and for the quality of runner that he is, honestly, probably would be a starter on a team without a real running back in a way. Like, I mean, he probably would have started for the Raiders last year, undoubtedly. So
Oh,
that's kind of the situation that it's in. And, if our running backs over the last couple of seasons have not been excellent, especially with Najee, maybe this is a good problem to have.
yeah. No, I mean, it's nice to have this discussion, and I agree with Kenneth Gainwell. And I think that probably just the thing that's like the most disappointing about it is like we know Mike Tomlin, and we've seen it time and time again where, I don't know if he thinks like he's like kind of being a mastermind, really smart with like, oh, like this first month he's going to be RB3. And so people are going to like, I don't know, forget about him or have to adjust. And then he's going to become RB2. Because that's kind of always what seems to happen with his rookies. It's like the first month or so, he, doesn't give him all the reps or doesn't play him and then puts him in. And it's like, I don't understand that logic. Like, I don't know why he does that, and it's very like he consistently does that. He did it with Roderick Jones. He does it with, I mean, just plenty of players. So, I would love to know his reasoning of like, why does he think that that's like a really good strategic move to start out the season?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you as to why, but we have seen it. So there's obviously
Yeah.
something going on in his brain there, and maybe we just don't understand it. But here we are again. We're talking about that type of thing. Let's move to the defense here too, because we've got a couple of injuries that we have to get out of the way. Derek Harmon has been ruled out for this first game. And interestingly enough, it seems like Keanu Benton is perhaps moving towards being ruled out as well.
Oh,
So there's your interior on the D line. Now, we've got a couple of guys down the depth chart. Logan Lee, who was like a very late round pick last year. I believe he was the 6th round pick out of North Dakota State. And then we got Yaya Black, who was our 4th rounder this year out of Iowa. A couple of guys that could slot in there in those two spots for both Derek Harmon and Keanu Benton. As far as everything else goes, most of the rest of the defense looks pretty healthy. Corey Trice is on the injured list. We knew this. Nick Herbig is questionable as of right now. And that's kind of the week one gist of things is, we're just trying to figure out who's healthy and who's not, who we have at our disposal. I think Derek Harmon's a big blow because I think we were looking to see him at least at some point. But again, with that injury, I think we knew that we wanted to be careful with him. So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us. Keanu Benton perhaps being ruled out is a little bit, iffy, especially if Derek Harmon isn't there. But I'm looking down the rest of the defense. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson listed as the first linebacker on the right side, Alex Highsmith, Darius Slay, Deshaun Elliott, Juan Thornhill, Joey Porter Jr., and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, I'm looking down that list. That's a lot of star power, at least in my mind. That looks like a very, very solid defense coming into week one.
yeah, I completely agree. I am very excited to see this defense. I think it's gonna, I mean, it's the Steelers classic football. Like our defense just is almost always good. So I'm excited to see this. I think that the injuries will just, there's a little bit of a question with the interior line. And, when you said Derek Carmen was out, which I had seen, I was like, it's disappointing, but it's like, all right, yeah, like we got Keanu Benton and Yaya Black and Cam Hayward. And then I had no idea Keanu Benton is like, questionable right now, might be out. So I think that is a little concerning. And then also, I'm not concerned about this anymore, but I was looking into an article. Well, my friend Super Bowl Paul, shout out to him. He's giving me all the Steelers information. He sends just all the articles to me and my dad. But, Cam Hayward obviously was having a bit of a contract dispute. They asked him, I don't know how long ago, it wasn't too long ago, if he was going to start week one, and he said, we'll see. And I do want to praise Mike Tomlin a little bit because recently, I think this was very recent. They asked Mike Tomlin about Cam Hayward, and Mike Tomlin like without batting an eye was like, yeah, he'll play. Like he's gonna play week one. Uh, like he talked about all the reasons why he should be playing week one. So I was like, well, that's and then Cam Hayward's gonna practice and stuff. So that's been cool to see that like Mike Tomlin's not giving him the room to decide if he's gonna play or not. Like Mike Tomlin's like, no, you're gonna suit up and play. And I think another factor to that is that they named him one of the team captains. So it's like, if you're the team captain and you don't suit up for week one, what kind of message is that? So it's, I'm glad that this dispute seems to be over with completely. And that helps too because it looks like our D line might be a little bit weak going into week one.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And interestingly enough, I think Cam Hayward's even been talking this week on his own podcast about that type of stuff. But he's also ratting on some Steelers fans that have been talking about his brother, Connor Hayward, a good bit too. And I think, when we saw that Beanie Bishop got cut initially on those initial cuts, we were like, why are we cutting Beanie Bishop, but Connor Hayward is still rostered when we've got all these tight ends, most of which are, infinitely better than Connor Hayward? And Cam was taking offense to that, and he was kind of, clapping back at some Steelers fans for discounting, his brother, saying how hard he works and all this type of stuff. And again, it's like he keeps running his mouth like off, not off the air. I guess it's on the air, but publicly. And it's still frustrating me in a way. It's like, why are we still doing this? I mean, it's go time here in a couple of days. Are you ready to go? Are you ready to quit yapping and play football, or what's going on? That's my big question right now.
Yeah, well, and this is why I'm just like super against like current players having podcasts that are about football because it's like, all right, like you have a fan base that loves you and like, we love Cam Hayward, but it's like, yeah, it's like stop talking. Like just stop like you're digging like he's just been digging this huge grave. And I'm like, I don't know why you're doing this to yourself. And I think it was like similar obviously, I love Big Ben, but like towards the end of his career, he would go on the radio and talk about stuff, and like it caused issues with Martavis Bryant, and like he was calling out some of the wide receivers. And like, now Big Ben has a podcast. And I'm like, absolutely. Like you're retired, you're not on a team, like go for it, have a podcast. But when you're on a team and you got an entire fan base looking at you, you're a captain, so you got all the players looking at you, like you don't need this. This is just such extra noise that I mean, in my mind, like is just so annoying. And it's so like, look, I get it. He's your brother. Obviously, you're going to defend him, but you don't need to do it on a podcast. Like, we get it. No one's going to question that you're going to defend your brother, but like to attack the fan base, and I mean, and I don't know if it was an attack, but like to go to the fan base and be like, what are you guys thinking and stuff. And it's like, I mean, let's be real. We have too many tight ends. Like, I don't know. It's just dumb. And I'm tired of like, I've never been a fan of current players doing this stuff because it just causes issues.
And we don't need any more issues. Like we tried to get rid of the issues. And Cam Hayward has been a non-issue for his entire career. He's been one of the guys that you can rely on to be normal,
Right.
And now it's like, what's going on? Like why of all people is it one of your veterans, your team captains, your bona fide leaders on the team that's doing this? That's just the big question mark. And it's getting frustrating. And if it keeps going, I'm going to keep getting more and more frustrated with it, especially if it starts to manifest itself on the field. But that's where I'm at right now. But as far as things go, I mean, I'm very pleased with this roster construction. I think Calvin Austin, I need him to be healthy this week, and I need him to produce a little bit. I'm still looking at these wide receivers. We still don't know what's going to go on with Roman Wilson. But I did see this week, too, that Mike Tomlin has an idea for Jonnu Smith almost being the wide receiver 2 in a way. And that's kind of how he's operating this offense right now is in the lack of a wide receiver 2 that we have. Jonnu Smith is going to be that while Pat Freiermuth is kind of being the standard tight end in a way.
Wow, interesting. I don't hate that because I think that Johnny Smith can be the vertical. out there guy. Like I remember in Tennessee specifically, like, he's got some speed to him. I know he's a little bit older, but yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I don't I like that because he's a big body, and the problem is with our receivers, it's like we got DK Metcalf, and then Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and Scotty Miller. All three are slot receivers. So, and I mean, well, no, never mind. We cut Robert Woods. And so it's like, yeah, we genuinely don't have an outside number two guy. So, I think that I don't hate that off of my mind. I mean, I'm glad that he's being creative and trying to find a solution, I guess. But that'll be interesting to see. I don't mind it. I'm hopeful to see. I think that could be good.
Yeah, I'm not going to really insert my opinion on it because I haven't seen it yet. And once I see it, maybe I'll form an opinion, but, we'll find out here in a couple of days. And as far as things go, we should probably actually figure out what we think about this coming game. Literally news that happened 20 minutes ago. The first round pick, I believe, a couple of years ago for the Jets, Elijah Vera Tucker, who's an interior O lineman, he has been ruled out for this game with a very serious arm injury. And I remember in our episode with Derek, the Jets fan, he said that he was going to be a big part of this offensive line, which is supposed to take a big step forward. And again, with Justin Fields, we know what kind of happens when he doesn't have the best O line because we didn't have a great one early on last year. And now it's like, okay, so he's probably going to have to use his legs a good bit more. So your first thoughts on this Jets game? What do you think's going to go on? How do you think the flavor's going to go? What do you think of Fields? What do you think of, Garrett Wilson? Is there anything else you're concerned about?
Yeah, I think that that's it's nice to know that they're a little weak on the inside, given that we are also a bit going into week one. But I think that I I mean, yeah, I'm worried about the defense for sure because of, the new head coach and their defense was already, it's a pretty stud defense. So I'm hopeful though that Aaron Rodgers can kind of work around it, given that he spent 2 years watching the defense, even though it's under a new head coach. A lot of the same players. So I would say offensively, I'm not really as worried. I think that with our secondary, I think we could take care of Garrett Wilson. I'm not really sure if they have any other wide receivers that I'm actually concerned about. I would say the biggest thing is controlling Justin Fields because interestingly enough, I mean, this was just a thought that came to my mind. I think that when it comes to mobile quarterbacks, I think that we struggle unless it's Lamar Jackson.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Because for some reason, we can contain Lamar Jackson perfectly. But then, going back to last year specifically, even before he got hurt, Anthony Richardson was moving all up and down the field and having his way. And we've seen that, I think, time and time again with quarterbacks that can move. Josh Allen in the playoffs. So I don't really know why there's such a stark contrast where it's like we can control Lamar Jackson, who's the best mobile quarterback in the league right now. Yeah, when it comes to all the other mobile quarterbacks, they can kind of do what they want. So I'm hopeful that we can just tap into what we do with Lamar Jackson. And given that, he was on our team for a whole year, we can control Justin Fields. Because I think if we can keep him from using his legs, I think that we'll win this game.
Yeah, and I think that starts especially with the outside, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, they have to be better than they were in the wild card game against Lamar Jackson because I mean, of the times that we did not stop Lamar, it was in the wild card game. I mean, they were just picking wrong every single time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's a danger that we have with Justin Fields now coming into this week one game is, if you pick wrong, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I love TJ Watt and I love his aggressiveness. But I mean, we need to let the inside guy deal with the running back and keep the outside guy on the quarterback. Because I mean, that wild card game, Watt was on the running back every single play it seemed, and it was like, well, I mean, who's going to be on Lamar. So I think that that's just keeping the outside contained. I'm not worried about Fields necessarily going up the middle versus going on the outside. So if we can just keep that outside containment, I think that as a pocket passer, I don't think Justin Fields is horrible, but I don't think that he can do it without his legs.
Who do you think in the secondary is going to play the biggest part against Justin Fields this week?
I think I want to say Jalen Ramsey. Like, I want to see him just come out and have an explosive game one. And, like, even if he's shadowing over Garrett Wilson a lot or focusing on Garrett Wilson a lot, I would love to just see him kind of dominate the secondary. I think, like, I feel like I hope that he feels like almost a sense of freedom with this secondary because, he was like the shining star in a horrendous secondary of the Miami Dolphins. So he was, kind of having to carry a lot of the weight there. Versus coming here, it's like, I mean, he's really in an ensemble where it's like, he can slip up maybe and someone else can cover because of who we've got in the secondary. So I would love to see him kind of um, be a little more free and make some plays across the field.
Yeah, I'm all over that too. I like that idea. Um, so let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else before our score predictions. I don't think I've got anything else, but you want to go first?
I
You want to kick us off with our score predictions, or do you got something else first?
I'll have one question just because I feel like we haven't touched on it, but what do you have expectations wise for specifically Aaron Rodgers, but also like DK Metcalf or Pat Fryermuth?
So I like the Rodgers to Metcalf connection. I think that's gonna get going early on, especially this season. I don't know exactly what it's going to be like with Fryermuth. And, you insert Jonnu Smith in there. I mean, we kind of have multiple tight ends. And then again, you can't forget about Darnell Washington either. So, I mean, going back to your comment several months ago about Aaron Rodgers making some tight ends look very good, there's a chance for that to happen. And if it does happen in that way, then, this offense could be very, very good. Now, I don't know exactly how much I feel positively about his connection with, say, like Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin. I'm a little bit hesitant on that in a way. So there might be a lot of relying on the tight ends in the offense to work. And additionally, I don't know how much we're going to be handing the ball off anyway. We talk about Kaleb Johnson being the RB3. Well, I don't even know how many handoffs Kenneth Gainwell's going to get. So, Jalen Warren's a good blocker. He's great at blocking. So if we have those play action passes where, Aaron Rodgers great in play action. He's got that very, very quick pullback or whatever. He's had it for his entire career. Jalen Warren being a good blocker as a running back, I think helps that cause a little bit too. So we'll kind of see what happens. I think my expectations are that he is average. I don't want him to turn the ball over. I think he wants to make smart decisions. But at the same time, I think we're probably going to see him throw 40 times a game at least. So, and I would be shocked if we didn't throw as much as that in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I think that, I'm expecting him to kind of go back to his Packer ways a little bit and just seeing like the excitement that he's had being in Pittsburgh. Like he's been, he was so happy to choose Pittsburgh. And I think that like it seems like everybody's happy that he's there. And like now, do you remember, was Russell Wilson a team captain last year?
I don't remember, but I feel like he was.
Okay, because I was just thinking about that because it kind of lessens this point. But Aaron Rodgers was named the offensive team captain, so I think that like either Russell Wilson was and the Steelers are just once again putting their money where their mouth is, or he wasn't. And like I think that like team captain stuff you can look at it and kind of brush it off, but I think it is a pretty decent like big deal, and I think that it shows that the team is gelling with him and that he really wants to be here. And I think that's the main part. Like, I think that watching him with the Jets, like, even his last year at Green Bay, it looked like he was, like, done where he was. Like, it looked like didn't really want to be there. But him wanting to be where he is, I mean, we've seen the outcome of that. So I'm hopeful. I like the connection to him and Metcalf. I think that's going to go well. Yeah, I'm hopeful that he has a good game.
I hope so too. And I hope we get started off on the right foot. And that would kind of ease the the tension a little bit because we don't really know what we're going to get. And if he can go out there and ball out, then that would be great and kind of give us an idea of, hey, maybe we can be a successful team this season. With that, we got to predict the score to this game. We got to predict who's going to win. David is our reigning champion. He won last year, so I have conceded that. I'd stupidly picked the Chiefs to win on Christmas Day. I can't believe I did that.
Well, that was funny because the entire year leading up to that, I was like, "We're gonna win," and then I was like, "I can't say we're gonna win."
Well, you made the right decision, and it ended up paying off for you big time. But we're 0-0, just like the Steelers are 0-0. So now we get to see who the first prediction is going to be. Since you won last year, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'll kick us off. I'm gonna give a hopeful score prediction. I'm gonna say we win. I think that our offense. I really do think that our offense is going to work with Aaron Rodgers. I think that he's going to, it's not going to be, I don't know if it's going to be the best offense ever, but I think it's going to be an efficient offense. So I think that, and our defense is going to do what it does. And I'm really like, there's nothing about this Jets team that really has me like in deep concern, especially on offense. So I'm going to say we win 27-17.
Okay. Not a one-score game. It's a 10-point win. I think if that were to happen, I would be very, very encouraged. If we can win by 2 scores, if we can win by 10 points, and put up some decent amount of points too. It's not 30, but 27's around that ballpark that I'm looking at. And for my prediction, I am also going to go with a hopeful prediction as well. I have this feeling, and maybe I should act on this feeling, but I'm about 55-45 as to whether the Steelers are going to win this one or not. And for the only reason that I think Justin Fields might just ball out. And I'm a little concerned about that. But I am going to go with what my brain is telling me. And I'm going to say we're going to win this one 24-17. And it's going to be, it's going to be a close game for the most part. Like, we're never going to feel like the Jets are out of it in a way. Heck, they might even score first. But I think, again, very similar to you, I think just the roster construction aids us better. And I think Aaron Rodgers is ready to go. I think that he's going to do well. Maybe that's a little bit high and lofty and thinking a little bit too far ahead, but I think he'll figure out this Jets defense, and I think we'll come away with a win.
Yeah, I agree. I am very hopeful. I cannot wait just to see what this team's going to look like.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very different looking team. I don't think we're going to be used to the ball being thrown as much as it has been in the last, 5 years since Ben. I mean, even in the final years of Ben, he wasn't throwing it nearly as much, and he wasn't sitting back there and throwing it deep. And that's something I think we're probably going to see a little bit out of Aaron Rodgers this coming season.
Right, which I mean, we've talked about, like, we have missed the deep ball and we missed the middle of the field too, and so I'm hoping that Rodgers brings that back too, because I mean, yeah, you got to have both of those, and we've missed it since like 5 years basically, and I think that that's something that Aaron Rodgers can bring back, and I'm hopeful he does.
We'll see what happens. Jets, Steelers, MetLife Stadium, week 1 of the NFL season. It's exciting. Yes, let's go. Here we go, baby. I'm going to be watching it. I'm sure you're going to be watching it as well. We're going to have a good time. And as always, Boardman Black and Gold is sponsored by Zeka Enterprises, crafting furniture solutions in northwestern Pennsylvania. You can call 910-777-3871 to turn your furniture problems into furniture solutions. We're ready to go. I'm excited for the Steelers season to start. We've got this itch. It's like it's getting scratchier and scratchier as time gets along. We got tomorrow night. It'll be Eagles and Cowboys, the first game of the season. I think there's a Friday game too. I think it's Chargers Chiefs. Is that what it is?
I know it's Chiefs and somebody. It might be Chargers, but I don't. Are they in Brazil?
Yeah, it's some foreign game.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, those will be fun to see. We'll see. Oh my goodness, we'll see what the Chiefs look like.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think they'll regress, but I don't know for sure. And we'll see what happens. That's the thing. Week 0, going into week 1, we don't know what's going to happen, and that's the excitement of all this stuff. We're excited, and we're ready for a Here We Go Steelers win. We're hoping for it.
Yes, we are. And, it's just not, it's nice to go into a week with, like you don't need to have expectations. You just need hope.
Yeah. Oh, hope. We love hope.
Oh, yeah.
We love hope. Hope is the best and worst thing possible for Steelers fans because hope for the longest time will eventually metastasize into false hope. So we'll see how much false hope Aaron Rodgers gives us this first week. But until then, we will have our Jets Outside Perspective episode shortly after this. So make sure you tune into that and check out what Derek Poe has to say. We had him on last year. He's got a nice episode for you coming here in just a couple of days. And then you'll hear from myself and David after this Jets week. Hopefully it's after a Here We Go Steelers win. And then we'll talk about the Seahawks next week. But until then, we've got the Jets coming up. Aaron Rodgers at MetLife Stadium. What's going to happen? You should tell us at Boardman and Gold on Instagram or BB and G Podcast on Twitter. Tune in. Let's see what we can do here this week. And we'll come away with a Here We Go Steelers win. Thanks for listening to the Boardman Black and Gold podcast. Zane and David, we'll be back next week.